recall yesterday, we checked out a video from a young lady named I don't know if she's young. Oh, I don't know how old she is. But a fellow content creator who was connected to BLEXIT. I think she was a volunteer of some sort and a part of the organization. She did a video. Her name is Kaylee, and she also did an actual quick live stream video that's on Twitter X. And she basically, put the BLEXIT tax forms out there because it's a nonprofit, and was like, hey, explain this 1.7 million you were in the hole when TPUSA acquired BLEXIT. Because the candy asses, somehow forget this happened. Charlie Kirk did not have to acquire BLEXIT. The Parler deal from Boys Club, George, didn't even go through. It fell through. I think Kanye West was supposed to acquire Parler Inc. and it fell through. Now you see why? Because here you have this company called Olympic Media LLC. Okay. That has trademarks registered underneath it. It's information we looked up yesterday from the actual registration for the LLC. And one of those trademarks is Parler Inc. Parler Inc., to which George Farmer owned. And ironically, he was also the treasurer of BLEXIT. So let me just pull up. I'm going to just pull up a year for the taxes. This is Olympic Media, and I'll drop the link in the chat. So we went over the one from BLEXIT. As a matter of fact, let me go back to that one first, so you all can see, for those who missed it, for the people in the back. This is BLEXIT here. I'll drop the link to this chat, to this website, and I'm also going to have it in the description of the video. Because facts matter, and she want to sit here and talk about TPUSA not meeting a deadline for taxes when she lied about that. And then turned around and was like, oh, well, someone who's, understanding of IRS told me that they actually had an extension or some sort. Yeah, because that can happen. But Candace is not ignorant to that. You know why? Because she has LLCs registered in the state of Delaware. She has to do taxes herself for these LLCs, such as Candace Owens LLC, this Olympic Media LLC, making sure that when she was over BLEXIT, tax documents were being filed for BLEXIT. So you all can see here, I pulled up the year 2022, the tax return for 2022, because this is where she starts getting into the hole. And if you all can see here, BLEXIT Foundation Inc., this is the EIN number. This was tax exempt going back to October 2019. Candace resides in Tennessee. Then you see here, this is just one of the tax forms. So you can go back, and I think you can go back like 4 or 5 years, something like that. It might go back further than that. It should go back to the year it was started. So let me go down. I can show it like the first tax year. So this tax year started in 2019. So we go up to 2022 here. You can look at all the years. You can do the summary here. And then here's where you can view the filing, the schedules, which is the actual tax worksheets, the PDF file. XML is, Microsoft Excel. But you can click on whatever one version you want, and it goes into details. So here you go. So y'all saw where it was starting. It was coming into this year with a negative. BLEXIT Foundation, you see that here, reiterated, goes to some P.O. box. And this is the P.O. box she was talking about when she was hit with the Macron lawsuit. She was like, well, it goes to some P.O. box we barely check, where we use for like merchandise and blah, blah, blah. why are you barely checking that? I mean, it's insane to think that she's barely checking a P.O. box that deals primarily with her merchandise. What if something, people were returning things? It's just sitting in a P.O. box. So this is the P.O. box here. Y'all see Candace here? Her name on it right here. And then we go down to where it says prior year, current year. So you have this sector here for revenue. So current year, they brought in allegedly 2.9 million in revenue. And then you have the expenses here. And you see this big gaping hole, this big dip down here for $1.7 million for their expenses. Total revenue less expenses. This is what you net out. $1.7 million in the hole. So you scroll down. Here's where it got interesting. Aside from George being listed here as a treasurer, there you go, right there. And somehow he's working 30 hours a week, same as Candace, which was, by this point, she was with Daily Wire. And that was one of the points that the content creator Kaylee brought up in her video. 30 hours is almost a full-time work week. I mean, depending, it might be considered still full-time. 40 is the standard. But if you're saying you're working 30 hours a week, that means you're working at least 6 hours per day related to BLEXIT. That's what that means. And then George is doing the same thing as treasurer. Somehow, but her VP, Brandon Tatum, was only doing 5 hours. What kind of damn... you're supposed to be the VP where the president and the treasurer are doing 30 hours a week, allegedly, which we all know they weren't, but whatever. For the sake of argument, it's on paper, 30 hours a week. Why is the VP and director only doing 5 hours a week? This is nothing more than him checking maybe some emails for an hour, playing the role of a VP of BLEXIT. Wasn't he an officer? I mean, doesn't that indicate he had a job? He also has a YouTube channel. So he only dedicates, theoretically, 1 hour a week to BLEXIT as the VP. No logic in that. These board members, maybe, because if they only have to attend meetings, then that would explain it. But not from the VP. But the treasurer is doing the same 30 hours a week too. You can't make this up. And you don't even see his salary over here. No salary for George. Candace put hers. She put Brandon Tatum, but not your treasurer husband. It's the inconsistencies for me. It's the inconsistencies for me. So let's scroll down to these consultants that that were pointed out in Kaylee's video that we spoke on yesterday. Because it's odd that you're spending all this money for what's considered to be social media fundraising. Like consulting firms that just strictly deal with social media fundraising, like no different than platform for GoFundMe. Somehow she paid stupid money to these consulting firms. Trying to get to the actual worksheet so you all can see it for yourselves. Because, one of the candy ass is talking about, where's your evidence? I'm sorry. Just because you can't read doesn't mean it's not here. Can't make this up. So anyone can look this up. This is public information. You can go on that web, projects.propublica.org, and put in, BLEXIT Foundation Inc., and it'll pop right on up for you as well. So this here, optimized consulting, and this social media fundraising thing. How in the world are you spending $553,000? This is just amount paid to fundraiser listed in column I. This I over here, this is the column it's referring to. This is the gross receipts from activity. So let's just go with column here. $553,000 $153,694. Paid to a consulting firm that does nothing more than what GoFundMe can do for you for free. Anyone can start a GoFundMe account. So if that is we looked up social media fundraising as well on yesterday. I also have a link to more information about social media fundraising, the aspects of it, what it pertains is in the description of yesterday's live stream. So feel free to Google that. They operate no differently than someone creating an account with GoFundMe. They find ways to utilize social media to raise money. And you're paying them $553,000 to do it. Then you see this here, Olympic Media. Yesterday, we pulled up the LLC for this. That's where we saw Parler Inc. is one of the trademarks registered under this LLC. So even though Parler Inc. is a separate corporate entity here, it's like a subsidiary. It falls under this LLC. And this is getting $284,404. This is for tax year 2022. So I said yesterday, we looked up the address to the Olympic Media. Turns out it goes back to a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo. How often were they there? This is in a whole nother state, in Virginia. So this is how much they were getting. The LLC that is connected to George Farmer and Parler Inc. And he's already rich as hell. God. So it's like this Olympic Media LLC is kind of like a shell LLC that houses all these various trademarks that actually connect. One of them connects to George. And I didn't see any other trademark. It was just Parler Inc. So you mean to tell me the CEO of Parler Inc., that's also the treasurer of BLEXIT during this time, registered under this LLC, Olympic Media, was getting $284,404? How does that make sense? Just so they can just raise more money on social media. It's insane. Let's get some comments in right quick. Because you can't make this up. Hold on a second. I don't know what happened with my screen. Oh, dear Lord. When did this cut out? I'm sorry. My bad. This is it right here. They just make LLCs. Hey, this goes away every time I try to put up a comment. What the heck? Oh, there you go. Every time they try to make, every time they just make LLCs, get a lot of donations, and Sir put in it in his UK bank account. I'm a simp, and that's what I gathered. Did y'all see the actual? Let me know if it was not visible the whole time I was going over this stuff. Were y'all able to see the tax forms from BLEXIT? When I click on some of these comments, it kind of goes away. Did y'all see that? Let me know. I can go back to it. Let me know. Y'all saw it? Okay. Yes, you can see it. Mark. Okay, so y'all was able to see the BLEXIT tax forms. If it walks like a fraud, talks like a fraud, it's probably George. Oh man. Boys Club is not studying anything. He doesn't care. He just doesn't care. You can't make this up as far as you got something to talk about, Karen. That's okay. Mine wasn't either until I decided to start a channel. I'm just now putting content up. Make sure you drop your channel link. Let's go and see for, oh my God. Gary says, look into those consulting firms and give it who owns those. Yeah. You can't make this stuff up. Let's go and see Star. Wow, just wow. I know, right? Try to get some of y'all comments in. Hey, lawyer. Parler went under BLEXIT. Yeah. Parler Inc. was registered as a trademark under this Olympic Media LLC. It fell under it. And we checked out the LLC registration information yesterday. We confirmed the address, and then we saw clear as day Parler Inc. listed as a trademark registered under this Olympic Media LLC. You can't make this stuff up. So let's get back to this. All right. Because this is insane. So we saw where here this $284,000 was paid out to Olympic Media for tax year 2022. So okay, I said, well, let's see if the tax forms for Olympic Media matches this amount that was paid out to them. Let's see if it lines up, right? We should expect to see this magical number as revenue for Olympic Media. These are payments sent out from BLEXIT to Olympic Media. Let's see if that revenue shows up for tax year 2022. Because we're just asking questions. Candace, you're bad at this, girl. This is how you connect dots. All I'm really missing here is the lease agreement to see and verify if Boys Club and Candace ever stayed at that address in Arlington, Virginia. That just kind of would nail it, right? So you guys see here, this is Olympic Media. You see the Port Townsend is up state of Washington. Tax exempt since November 2016. EIN is right here. So let's scroll down to the same tax year. We're going to look at 2022. And this goes back it goes back to 2016. So you have a lot of years of, about 9 years of tax documents to look up. Now, if you notice here, they file a 990 easy. That's basically a way of saying we just file, an easy tax return for this particular LLC, which based on just what an easy tax form is, as opposed to a standard 990, it just kind of leaves me wondering if this is a shell company, if it's a shell LLC, and it's nothing more than a parent company to Parler Inc. Because Olympic was getting all this money from BLEXIT. So it makes me wonder that. So when you have this 990 EZ, that means it's saying this is not even going to be complicated or anything. So here it is right here. Is this for fiscal year ending December 2022? You see Olympic Media there. Who is the registered agent? Y'all can see here. Oh, let me go back right quick because I want to point this out. Y'all see here, net income for 2022 was already in the negative by $6,000. Might not sound like a lot, but doesn't seem like they're bringing in more than $1 million to $2 million every year either way. But you see here, net income for 2022 was a negative $6,600. So like BLEXIT, get this, just like BLEXIT, Olympic Media LLC was also in the negative. BLEXIT was in the negative by 1.7 mil. Olympic Media was in the negative by $6,000. And then, of course, you see it gets bigger and bigger. Here's 2023. Net income negative $25,564. And then you see here, tax filing from last year for tax year 2024. That came back up into the positive. I wonder what happened. So they were in the negative. You guys are seeing it here. The same year, BLEXIT was in the negative. Oh, Lord. Mighty funny. When BLEXIT was acquired by TPUSA, that tax year 2024 for Olympic Media went to the positive. It's just mighty ironic. That's all I'm saying. It's just ironic. So let's scroll down. Once again, I want to get to the revenue. Now, if they were paid 200 and what is it? $284,000. Shouldn't you expect to see that as revenue going into Olympic Media LLC? If BLEXIT tax document says we paid this company for tax year 2022 $284,000, I should expect to match that with the revenue for Olympic Media. That's money coming into the LLC. So when you have contributions, gifts, grants, and similar amounts received at $87,000, where's the rest of the $200,000? You don't even get that revenue total down here. It's just $87,000. Y'all see this? Because you can't make this stuff up. Anybody lost so far? This is how math works. This is how accounting works in particular. So accounts payables from BLEXIT, if they had such a thing, paid out $284,000 to Olympic, which means their accounts receivable is bringing that money in. Why isn't that matching? Why is their revenue reflecting $87,000 only and not $284,000? Where is the remaining almost $200,000 here? Where's the rest of it? Let's say $197,000. Where's that $197K? Since she wants to ask questions, we're doing the same thing, Candace. This is insane. But her expenses are just skyrocket. Salaries, compensation, benefits. Y'all see that over here? $45,000. You got these professional fees, occupancy, rent, utilities. Mighty funny. That apartment was $5,394 a month. But you got occupancy, rent, utilities, and maintenance, only $20,000 for the entire year. Y'all make this make sense. We verified that address to go to a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath apartment. That is $5,394 a month. So even if we go back, okay, let's say inflation kicked it up. That's what we saw as of yesterday in 2025. Let's say it was $4,800 in 2022, tax year 2022. This amount should still be higher. For 12 months, can somebody do the math right quick? 4,800 times 12. 4,800 times 12. Because I highly doubt it just comes up to 20,000. $4,800 times 12. Anybody can drop the math on that right quick. This is where money is going here. Where money was going from BLEXIT to, and it was supposed to be helping, urban African American communities, similar to TPUSA, except it's supposed to be focused on, I guess gearing in more young Black conservatives, right? This is starting to smell more and more. Hear me when I say this. This whole BLEXIT thing is starting to smell more and more like BLM. Since Candace wanted to go die hard on BLM and Kimberly Klasick. This Olympic Media LLC goes to some 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment where the rent was, let's say, $4,800. 4,800 times 12 is only 19,000. Plus utilities. Plus maintenance. I'm highlighting it here. Let me go back. Occupancy, rent, utilities, and maintenance. Only $20,000. I still expect this number to be higher. 12 months of rent plus utilities and maintenance. I expect this to be much higher. Because what she's saying is 19,200. And this is me rounding down for the sake of argument here. For the sake of argument, I'm rounding downward because from 2022 to 2025, rent could have easily gone up. So we're rounding down. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. Rent plus utilities plus maintenance. 20 grand. And that's it. You can't make this up. Oh, yeah. 57,600. There you go. Thank you. Not like that. I don't think that math works. I expected it to be high. There you go. $57,600. 4,800 times 12. 57,000. Why is this only at 20,000? George. Boys Club, can you explain this? Because this is the LLC that shielded your Parler Inc. How do you have a luxurious apartment where I'm still rounding down? I'm knocking off $500 a month. That should have came up to just for rent only 57,600. Because I just want to make sure the math is right. $57,000. How does that happen? And you only reported $20,565. That's so specific. Printing, publications, posting, postage, shipping, 10 grand. On what? It's a social media fundraising. Everything they do should have been online. Isn't that the nature of the business? Let's go back to BLEXIT. Because I got to make sure I connect the dots. We're dotting our I's and crossing the T's. You're calling this a social media fundraising. And based on the information about social media fundraising, you're using social media, an electronic platform, to raise money. Why are you spending $10,000 on printing, publications, postage, and shipping? Why isn't the rent matching? Y'all, you just can't make this shit up. The rent doesn't even match. Man, they shortchanged 37 grand. This is crazy as hell. This is crazy. I expected them to say, hey, we paid at least the rent amount for that so-called apartment at that address. I'm just saying rent, utilities, and maintenance. It's very straightforward. This is a 990 easy form. It's not designed to be complicated. It's supposed to be very straightforward with the expenses, with the revenue, with your assets. It's supposed to be very straightforward. Explain to me what I'm getting wrong. I see, Brandy. Tell me what I'm getting wrong. Why does it go away every time I put up this photo? Can you explain to me what I'm doing wrong with this taxes? I'm just reading the numbers here. I'm literally reading what I'm seeing on paper. I'm asking questions here. If you're saying you're paying rent and occupancy and all this stuff for this address, because the company didn't operate only for 3 or 4 months a year. Wouldn't you expect that this operated 12 months out the year? It's a social media fundraising. This is not a tax firm. I'm just trying to figure. I'm asking questions. What are we getting wrong? Because I'm just reading the documents. Candace, hit that button. Ashley says, "So glad I found y'all. Can't sleep now. Y'all got me up thinking." Hey, I'm asking what's wrong. I'm genuinely asking what's wrong. What am I reading wrong here? Because I'm just reading this. Well, just for one, only 500 square feet of residence can be used as expense for LLC. Okay, So if we take the square footage of that apartment, I'm just reading the numbers here. That's all I'm doing. I'm asking questions. So let's say, okay, it's the 500 square feet, right? I mean, I don't understand why would they need more than that then if they can only claim up to that. But okay, let's take this in. What was that address? 1881 North Nash Street. Because they do give a breakdown per square feet. So let's look at that. So $1,567 per square feet. Let's do that times 12. And ask questions. I'm trying to find out. So can somebody do this math? $1,567. Well, no, because I mean you got to do five. Yeah, times 500. What is that? This is 1,567 times by for each square foot, right? And you can only claim up to 500. So what's 500 times 1,567? Can somebody drop that math? Yeah, I'm seriously asking. I'm seriously asking. Because she working at the wire too. She doing 30 hours. Can somebody drop that math right quick? Just let me know. So if that's, I mean, if that definitely is true, then okay, we'll use that as a fair point. See, I can stand corrected. There you go. Shout out to you. Someone can someone do the math on this? Because that might take you to the 20. They only get 500 square feet, and this is $1,567 per square foot. What's the math on that? Oh dear Lord, it's more. What is my math off? Let me know, Bernie. Is my math may be off. They got the price here. We're just looking at what this is, and this is for, as of today. Let me hide the comment, so y'all can see this. Mark says $783,000. That's way more than just like a monthly rent amount. Because here's the monthly estimated rent right here. This is where I'm getting this from. This is the address here that's listed on the taxes for Olympic Media. This is what we saw yesterday. So I wanted to make sure my math is there. They only got 1,800 square feet here total. So we're getting a breakdown per square foot, how much it costs, and they only get up to 500. I just correct me if I'm wrong. We're just taking that amount, multiplying it by 5, giving them the max. It seems to come out to be way more than 57,000. just let me know my math is off. That's all I'm asking. So I want to be as accurate as possible. We asking questions. So glad to finally like there are not many like this disturbing illusion. Another good one. 1498. Is that can't be it? It's 1,500 per square foot, and they claim up to 500 square feet. They better off just saying this is what we paid per month. I still don't understand how they came up with 20,000. Like, how did they come up with this number? This is for the entire year, the entire tax year, and we're looking at rent, utilities, and maintenance. They can't claim the full amount of rent, so they get to claim up to 500. So I'm trying to see. This help me with the math on that, because we're still talking about an apartment community. They didn't even take residents in. We wouldn't even known about this had we not looked at it on the LLC. This is insane. And aside from the point now, the revenue that BLEXIT said it paid to Olympic Media does not match their revenue incoming for 2022. We're looking at the same tax year. The revenue is off. The rent here for that address is so weird. So I'm seriously asking, help me do the math on that one. Let me know. If whatever the number is, if you can give me the numbers on that, please send it to me or post it up, or you can email it to me. I want to make sure, because this is, the math is not mathing. It's certainly not mathing adding up with the revenue. I would expect that to match. There's no prohibition when it comes to this revenue. So the revenue does not match. The amount of money they're spending on the rent is still weird. And that's not including like they claim up to 500 square feet. Plus you got to add in utilities as well as maintenance. That still seems like a low ball number to me. This is what they got from BLEXIT. And they are $197,000 off in their revenue. They couldn't even be consistent with that. Because Candace, money just doesn't grow legs and walk away. We can spend it as fast as we get it, but it's not going to walk away from you either. Where's the rest of the 197? What's the rest of the money that was paid into this LLC? Because I'm like, it's about 5,000. How many square foot is with the apartment? Is that what you're asking? That's files. Because we trying to. I'm like, why wouldn't the IRS pick that up? Boys Club is supposed to be he was supposed to have been the treasurer to BLEXIT. The role of the treasurer controls the cash. They're like the bank of the company. The treasurer oversees the money that's inside this organization. He was the treasurer of BLEXIT. And an LLC that covered Parler Inc. was receiving $284,000 for this one tax year. Stupid money. And they couldn't even translate it over to the tax documents, this 990EZ, for the revenue. We're looking at the revenues here. And even make it over here in full. The expenses, it just, man, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So let's scroll down. They got professional fees and other payments to independent contractors, $6,404, whoever they are. I mean, what other independent contractors could they possibly have? Professional fees? I mean, GoFundMe could be free. And you have over here the net assets here. And you can see the net assets of fund balances for the end of the year was $136,977. This is insane. They have the cash savings, investments, land and buildings, other assets. Even if it showed up over here, it doesn't even match. It still does not explain why only 87,000 made it over his revenue. That's so crazy. Diane said apartment is near Washington, D.C. It's in Virginia. Is that close to D.C.? Anybody in that area familiar with it? Let's go to the map. Is this what she was saying? One of you all emailed me that. Somebody emailed, one of you guys emailed me saying it's this address in the DC area where she was staying during because Candace herself said she was in DC, staying in DC when January 6th happened. So that's a good question. Is this where they were staying near close to DC somewhere? It sounded like that the way she put it, she was like across the street from, you know, Congress. I'm not familiar with the area, but let's see what's on the map. There you go. Is this area near DC? Uh-oh. Does anybody know? Anybody familiar with it? Let me know. This is Arlington, Virginia. So I don't really know how far. Um, how you zoom out of this? Oh man, it's just taking me close in. So I don't know how far this will be from DC area or even near where the January 6th event happened. I have no idea. You can't make this up. It says Arlington, Virginia. Isn't that where the military gravesite is? Like the huge military gravesite? The IRS will pick that up. You can't just say I pay XYZ LLC X dollars and XYZ doesn't show it on their revenue. Exactly. Why would they put down 87 when they paid out 284,000? And somehow, here's the ticker. TPUSA acquired BLEXIT. My question would be, were they even aware of this connection? When they acquired it, they already acquired it in the whole. Who lived in the apartment? I don't think anybody lived there, Diane. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they ever lived there. I think it was just kind of like a ghost apartment. She says she stayed in DC, and I don't know how far this is from DC. Makes sense that George was treasurer. That's how they got away with it. Exactly. When I say the treasurer controls the purse, that is not a euphemism or an understatement. You guys, if you want, you can look up the role and responsibilities of a treasurer. They control the purse in-house. I'm like, at least be consistent. If you're being paid from BLEXIT 284,000 for 2022, I would expect their taxes from Olympic Media to match what was paid to them in revenue. I expect that. It's like apples to apples here. Why put any other amount? Let me scroll down and I get to the worksheet with the revenue, because this is crazy. They didn't have any other organization here. You see none right over here. Did I pass the employees? Because they had some salaries listed. The best thing about this being a 990 easy, it's not overly complicated or long. So let's see here. Who was paid? Nothing here. No name of supported organization. Nothing supporting them. This is public support. The schedule for that. Because I'm still wondering where's the rest of that revenue. I don't even see the sheet. Did I pass the sheet with the salaries? Somebody's getting a salary. Did I pass this? Okay, let me go to the top. All right. I'm trying to find the salaries worksheet. Here we go. Here we go. So the person getting a salary is Joseph Mann, VP of Operations. And he was reported to have done 40 hours a week. And this is the 44,000. It's 44,200. How much was reported for salary is $45,580 for the salaries, other compensation, and employee benefits. 45,580 reported total. So the employee here, base salary, of course, 44,200. Reportable compensation. Where's the rest of the revenue? That lines up. It makes sense because they could have, the rest that was not reportable could be, maybe he's got some outside expenses that's not reportable. So that could be the case, or some deductions rather. Where's the rest of the revenue? Public charity status and public support. This is just saying they exempt from the taxes here, federal taxes. Like, where's the rest of the money? You can't make this up. And this is my thing here. They get public support and donations come in from their social media fundraising. And somehow Candace had an issue with people donating to TPUSA. The hypocrisy is staggering. It makes no sense. She got upset. Yes, Northern Virginia is very expensive. Boys Club. Man, he said it could have been in pounds converted. You would think. Oh God, that's funny. You can't make this stuff up. Virginia and DC border each other. Okay, so Arlington is close to about 13 miles. Okay. So they could have been there when they were on January 6th. But that's not their permanent residence. You're saying with this tax form that this LLC is housed at this apartment. That LLC is here. So if you're saying that this is like a company, you're running something, why use this if you know you don't live there? If you don't live there, would have been too much of a coincidence for them to just put their Tennessee residence in there. Yeah, I think it would have been glaringly obvious. But when it doesn't make sense like this, because like I said, one piece I am missing is any lease agreement signed by Candace or, Boys Club for this particular apartment. That would kind of seal it for me as far as being able to connect that last piece. Just having some lease agreement or something, or at least confirm if it does or does not exist, that they stayed at this place. And if they only had this for a LLC that's not even reporting all of its income being paid to them from a different organization, allegedly, then it's like, what is going on with the rest of that money? And why use the shell? Why use this address? Why say that this is a place for an LLC for a company where tax statements are being filed? It's so crazy. Oh man, all this money in rent, $5,000 in rent. You can't make this up. And they can only claim up to 500 square feet of that. Why get the most expensive thing ever? It's so insane. So Candace sits here and says, oh, TPUSA shouldn't be taking in donations. But yet, that's what they were doing. They were just doing it. It was like crowdfunding. They're doing it through social media. TPUSA had people sending them money, especially when after Charlie Kirk died. People have the right to send money and donate and support, especially if you're a nonprofit organization. It means you're basically operating on public support. You're operating on donations and contributions. The issue is with that $284,000, that's not a donation from BLEXIT. That is Olympic Media LLC claiming to have been some level of a consultant with some contract that's supposed to exist. Let me ensure that I'm using the correct terminology. A contract that is supposed to exist between BLEXIT and Olympic Media, to which we haven't seen that yet. I'm going to try my best to find it. That and maybe some form of a lease agreement. But there's a implied contract here where they're rendering services to BLEXIT for social media fundraising. And there's some sort of invoicing that's occurring where BLEXIT is paying this social media, this is social media fundraising, Olympic Media, $284,000. They're supposed to be providing some level of service for something that's nothing more than having a GoFundMe account. And she wants to sit here and harass TPUSA for getting donations when they didn't even report all that income coming in. That's supposed to be revenue. It's supposed to be seen as revenue from providing services, not just a donation from, random people on the internet. That's a separate category. Donations and gifts is not the same thing as you getting in accounts receivables because you invoice someone for services you perform. That's how crazy this is. They couldn't even be consistent with the revenue portion. So naturally, they would have to prove that they were paid this money through whatever payment method, whether it be a wire, whether it be a check, money order, put it on George's credit card, who knows? There's supposed to be some paper trail to show that transaction, to show money was sent to them and that they deposited into some account somewhere. And they didn't even put the full amount. And they're saying we get public support when that 284K would not be considered public support. It would be considered money from services rendered. Like a job, revenue, gross wages. Like it's similar to that. An employee getting gross wages. They didn't even do that right. But look at all this money here coming in from 2018 up until 2022 here. And this is how much they put down. So we're just asking questions, Candace. What's the rest of the 197K? Because we're seeing these numbers with our own eyes. We're seeing these taxes with our own eyes. They brought up TPUSA, but then they couldn't show how there's an easy lack in this. We can do that here. And I highly doubt Candace understands, GAAP. That's generally accepted accounting principles. It's like principles that kind of govern accounting departments in any organization, whether it be a government agency, whether it be a private organization, a nonprofit organization. Generally accepted accounting principles kind of help define how companies should operate when it comes to their, accounting, accounts payables, accounts receivables, their cash flow, documenting revenues and expenses, doing audits. All of that flows primarily from your accounting department. This is crazy. Who was over the accounting department at BLEXIT? Candace, why the hell you put George down as treasurer? Why would you do that? That means anyone that was AP or AR that worked in accounts payables or receivables would have been reporting to George Farmer because he's the treasurer. You can't make this up. He controlled the purse. And anybody can fact check me on accounting. You can look up that information. It's out there. This is crazy. And I'm not seeing any other revenue coming in. The rest they put down is public donations. Why? You can't make this up. Why do that? $87,000. That's it. Donations. It's like Omar. This is crazy. So I wanted you all to see this, to show this information out. You guys are more than welcome. Let me put the link to Olympic Media. And like I said, correct me if I'm wrong with this, because I'm not a tax expert. But please correct me if I'm wrong. So LLC for rent, 500 square feet would be $1,330 a month and $15,960 a year. Okay, cool. Cool beans. Because that's math. I can accept that. So the 20,000, 15,000 in just the rent, and then 20,000. They're basically saying the rest of the 500, which still doesn't sound right to me, would come from the utilities and the maintenance. And I don't know about you all, but I don't have any utilities where I'm only paying $500 a year. So they're saying 15,960 is all they could claim. And there's 20,000 listed for apartment rent, for the rent, utilities, and maintenance, and occupancy. Right here. So if they're saying that the rest of the difference between the 20 grand here and that 19,000, or that 15,000 rather, the rest of that would just be utilities and maintenance, I would love to know who the hell their water bill company is, the electric company. It don't look like there's any gas in that apartment. So let's say water bill, electric bill, maybe some rental insurance. They don't have any grass to cut or anything. This is an apartment community, so they can just put in a work order. The rest of that 500 is utilities and maintenance, when they couldn't even report the full revenue. We're just asking questions, Candace. We're just asking questions. So, in the meantime, you guys come across any other information, tomorrow I'm going to do the other LLC. There's 2 listed on here from BLEXIT, where he was getting all this stupid money. Optimized Consulting, going straight to a P.O. box in Austin, Texas. We'll look at that LLC tax documents. I would assume this is a nonprofit as well, because of reasons. So we'll look at their tax documents tomorrow and compare it to BLEXIT, because this right here is absurd. $553,000 for social media fundraising, you all. Not for fixing, AC and wiring cable or anything like that. For just social media fundraising. And shout out to Kaylee, who put this video out. And we checked that out yesterday. Because this money doesn't make sense, especially when it's not showing up on these LLC's tax statements as revenue. You can't, not even half that amount. Candace, we're asking questions. Explain yourself, you and George. At some point, she's going to take a hint and go make him a sandwich. What does Olympic Media get out of not showing the correct revenue? There's no write-off for anything. It's a 501c3. Exactly. The fact that they're tax exempt, tax exempt for federal taxes is beyond me. So they technically wouldn't have anything to lose if they at least tried to keep it consistent, right? It would not raise a red flag. But I'm curious as to why it didn't set off an alarm with the IRS. Once again, though, nonprofits they're not required to file they're required, you can file, but they're not required to pay any federal taxes. So there's no penalty, I guess, if they're just putting out random numbers, I guess. Because look what's happening. George controlled the purse at BLEXIT. He was the treasurer. And he had this money, according to BLEXIT tax documents, going to this LLC that covered the trademark for Parler Inc. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And Parler Inc., correct me if I'm wrong, was another internet-based website, right? It was sort of like a Rumble or something like that. What was Parler Inc.? They're just another platform, like a social media platform. Yeah, I ain't keep up with this clown. You can't make this up. And Kanye didn't buy it. Makes you wonder why that deal fell through. Makes you wonder, huh? This is from factually.co, because Candace doesn't like Wikipedia. Has George Farmer been linked to any controversies or investigations? Oh, look at this, y'all. Kind of sums up what I've been saying for the last 45 minutes. George Farmer has been connected in reporting to controversies, chiefly tied to his leadership roles in Parler and TPUK, and to accusations circulating online about sexual misconduct. Major profiles note Parler's association with January 6 organizing and Farmer's role as Parler CEO, while some online sources reports accusations of SA by at least one man, but those claims appear in secondary or archival summaries rather than in major profiles provided here. George, you have some problems going on over there. You can't make this up. Family privilege and political network shape perception, because it does. Connection to TP and GB News. He was the treasurer at BLEXIT. He worked for TPUK. TPUSA acquired BLEXIT, where he was the treasurer, and then was paying a LLC stupid money as a social media fundraiser that housed the Parler Inc. trademark. Yeah, that's some controversy, all right. George, what the hell are you doing? I told y'all, this man does not care at all what the hell Candace does. Because if you just dig a little deeper, you might find out he's just as bad, if not worse. It just sounds to me, George, you over here aiding in all this buffoonery, letting her go all over the place for 3.5, 4 months about Charlie Kirk. And his stuff like this never comes up about the revenue and stuff going into this LLC. I don't understand why, no one did anyone bring this up previously. That's what I'm asking. There's a reason why this BLEXIT acquisition with Kanye West did not fall through. There's a reason why. I'm gonna look it up. Why didn't Kanye West Parler Inc. Kanye West deal? And just put that in to see what happens. Let's share this. Make sure you guys can see it over here. There we go. Parler says Kanye West is no longer buying the social network. I wonder why. I wonder why, George. Because I'm going to tell you this. One thing I can't say about Kanye West is, he makes a lot of money from his businesses. Why didn't Kanye West pick up Parler Inc.? Why didn't he do it? BLEXIT went to TPUSA. Candace always, obsessing over Kanye West. Somehow that's, it's only the important person on earth. Okay. But yet, Kanye West did not purchase or acquire Parler Inc., where George was the CEO. Makes you wonder why, huh? I mean, he was like, nope. Ye will no longer buy a social media website and Twitter alternative Parler. So it was like Twitter. Okay. Gotcha. Marking the latest business partnerships to dissolve in the wake of his anti-Semitic comments. The proposed deal was called off in the interest of both parties in mid-November, according to a Thursday tweet from Parler parent company Parliament Technologies. Is that real, George? Because it just sounds like these LLCs are just popping up out of nowhere. Candace said herself, I have LLCs that are registered in Delaware. Plural. She said LLCs. That's plural. And of course, now we see there was definitely more than two. More than Candace Owens LLC and George Tom Inc. She said it herself. She has LLCs registered in Delaware. So this is yet another LLC, Candace. That you somehow managed to keep, I guess, the money flowing within the family. They created this conflict. George should have never been treasurer over there at BLEXIT if they knew that this Olympic media was going to house a trademark connected to Parler. Why? Why do that? No rhyme or reason. So they called it off. I think it has something else to do with some things that you can't make this up. Oh my God. I'm still doing math. I know, right? Kanye business savvy, I think, right? Yeah, I can say that. I think I can say he. I mean, look, the deal with Adidas, was it Adidas? Even though his shoes are ugly, people still bought them. Now, we could say primary because it was Kanye West, and somehow, he's another one people put on a pedestal. But he was, I mean, just anti-Semitic remarks, comments. That can't be the only reason why he decided I'm not buying Parler. But Candace Owens is just gonna dote on him like that's her closest friend in the whole wide world. But never said exactly why he would not pick up Parler Inc. TPUSA picked up BLEXIT, even though they were in the hole. Kanye West said, hell no. Take that on somewhere else. You might want to take that back over the water somewhere. Boys Club. We're not doing it over here. Yeah, when they're not reporting the revenue they're getting paid, yeah, it's fishy. It's so fishy. Listen here. We got more that we're going to uncover. We're doing the other LLC tomorrow. So make sure you all tune in because this is something else and you just can't make this stuff up. So, we got questions, Candace. We got a lot of questions. Yeah, this is why the Candy ass cult members and bots hate my guts. You can't make this up. This is priceless. Why lie? Candace, it's the little lies for me. It's the little lies for me that become mountain lies. And then, it's planetary size lies. And then next thing you know, you're in a different galaxy with your lies. You keep lying and it stacks up and adds up. Y'all sitting here lying about omission. See, all these things we can say about her and George. Lying about omission. Not sitting here saying that these LLCs are somehow connected, going back to George, Parler Inc. Boys Club has got a lot of explaining to do, which they would never will. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. Let's get some supers in right quick. I got some supers. Thank y'all so much. Shout out to Jackie Blue for the $9.99 super. I owe you for all the laughs and wise words. Oh, thank you so much. I listen as I go to bed, and it's a joy. Seeing so much evil stresses the soul. It does, and the mind and body and spirit and everything else in between. It can stress you out. So don't let it. And then shout out to JH for this information regarding coordinates and how they're written out and how to read them, how to read coordinates. And then here's the link. This was for, I think, the video for Jesus, and then you had the link for Nicholas Brooks. So we got in a lot of information tonight. Hopefully you guys go out and further research. Thank you shout out to Brandy S Files for the math and for explaining the rent, because we're all learning here. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for making sure that we stay factual with that. And it explains the 20 grand, even though the utilities and that maintenance still is shocking. But it does make sense with the 15,000. So there you go. I'm going to report it straight as it's written down on the paper. And I appreciate you guys for chiming in and for engaging in the chat and sharing information, sharing your knowledge. The point is for you all to walk away, learn something. And I learned from you all, and I appreciate that. So tune in tomorrow where we're going to go over the other LLC and the tax forms there. And I appreciate you guys. Hit the like button and share these videos. Share them. We're trying to grow Still trying to hit 30,000 supporters. We'll get there. And until the next one, you guys have a good night. Lady Luck Club out. Deuces.